powers on Earth too hidden to be seen, and conspiracies too vast to comprehend. For years, the world has seen fact distorted, reality manipulated, and the truth concealed. Join the Pierre Sabak podcast to uncover the real meanings behind ancient aliens and their symbolism.
Hi, this is Pierre Sabak, unlocking the keys to the mysteries. Now today I want to talk about the soul pattern. I have made reference to the soul pattern in a couple of my videos, but I really wanted to try and offer further deconstruction regarding what I actually mean regarding the soul pattern. Now the soul pattern goes back into Gnostic philosophy, and it's a very old and a very ancient idea, and the soul pattern really denotes spiritual knowledge which is facilitated through remembrance or gnosis. Now gnosis at one level can be understood to be enlightenment. It is really knowledge which is appertaining to the soul, and it's a revelation which arises from the understanding of the absolute. Now the absolute is symbolized within Pythagorean symbolism as the Pythagorean monochord. Now the Pythagorean monochord encodes multiple realities. So for example, we have one single string, and this single string interpenetrates multiple realities. Now according to Pythagoras, the multiple notes represented multiple dimensions. So different dimensions can be represented as a vibrating string. Now according to Pythagoras, the slow vibration of the lowest notes is physical reality, and then the highest or the quickest vibration of a very quick string would be the spiritual realm. And so therefore we have different notes which represents different dimensions. Now according to Gnostic philosophy, the soul pattern is really tied into memory or insight. In particular, it's tied into the memory or insight into the self. Now the Arabic word nafs, which means self, is polymorphic. It also means the soul. So therefore within Gnostic philosophy, to know yourself is to know yourself. And this is going back to remembrance, in particular the remembrance of past lives, in which the talisman or the symbol is used in order to ignite memory, in order to remember oneself. And it's important in order to remember who and what one is, because this is at the basis of controlling one's soul pattern, which is the basis of reincarnation. And this really is the conquest of death, which is the realization of the illusion, but in particular the ability to control this illusion through incarnation. Now this is metaphysical, the realization of the soul pattern and the memory of the soul pattern, the memory of past lives, and it really pertains to the enlightenment of the self. And the enlightenment of the self is achieved through the alignment of the soul pattern, which when we break it down within Gnostic symbolism is really the recollection. It is really breaking the amnesia of the soul, and therefore drinking from the waters of memory. Drinking from the waters of memory therefore facilitates the control of the soul pattern, and therefore the control over physical reality. Now it goes back within the mysteries to the process of initiation, and initiation was really designed to negate forgetfulness, and forgetfulness within the mysteries is really a synonym for ignorance, and this trait was attributed spiritually with death. So therefore death is a synonym of ignorance, which is equated with forgetfulness. So therefore, if one wants to transcend death, one therefore has to remember, and this is going back to the soul pattern. So at many levels we can say that the soul pattern and the memory regarding the soul pattern is transcendental. And really, it's the synchronization of the spirit, in particular, the synchronization of the spirit and its expression within the temporal realm, which is directed through multiple incarnations, which is the past and the future. Now, these different realms are the spiritual realm, which goes back into the Pythagorean monachord. But essentially, we're going back into the realm of universal forms. So this is the implicit order, which is manifested in the explicit order, which is the particularized form. So Plato talked about how there was these universal forms, which are these ideas which are given physical reality, or they are particularized. And this is really at the basis of what we're talking about within the soul pattern. This is the memory or the control over physical reality. Now, this is why meditation is so important, because the spiritual realm is really the imaginal realm, and really when you look at near-death experience, you see that near-death experience is it's very much like an hallucination. Now, we know it's not an hallucination and it's not a product of the dying brain, and we know this for a fact because studies have been done into near-death experience with blind people. These are people who have never seen before, so they do not dream. They have no idea what physical reality looks like. Now, in these studies, it was shown, and these studies were done by Professor Ring, that blind people, that when they died, that a number of them could see, and that they could see for the first time. So we know, therefore, that near-death experience is not a type of hallucination, but it goes back into the imaginal realm. Now, the Aborigines referred to this as the dream time, and this is why it's very important within the mysteries to be able to meditate and to control these different realms, because if one can lucid dream and one can control the dream, which is the imaginal realm, which is the spiritual realm of the universal form, which is the implicit order or the implicated order, which then can be manifested as the particular order, or it can be manifested as a particularized form. This is the idea of Plato's forms, of these universal forms which can be rendered physically. So the dream is important in order to facilitate memory. So if we want to conquer death, we have to conquer the dream. One of the processes of actually conquering death is by understanding the dream and being able to control the dream. And by being able to control the dream as an extension, one can control the imaginal realm. So therefore, one is able to control one's physical incarnation. Now, this is important because when they looked at incarnation, they didn't look at the existence of time. Time does not exist within this realm. So it is possible, therefore, for one to incarnate both into the past or into the future. And the controlling of the dream facilitates the ability to control one's incarnation within the illusion of universal forms, which are particularized as an actual physical form. Again, this would go back into the idea of the waveform. The angels are said to be a holographic culture. They are literally the masters of waveform. The waveform is the spirit, which is the vibration. The logos, spiritus, is the breath. But the vibration is then manifested, or it vibrates into light. Light is the soul. Soul is related to the Latin word soul, which is the sun. So the soul is light. It's manifested as light, which is a photon or a particle, which gives birth to the physical world, which is an hologram, which is an illusionary. Now, I know I'm using paradoxical language, but scientifically, the dichotomy between the waveform and how it's materialized through the observer is paradoxical. So, in essence, the dream is very important. It's at the basis of the transcendental tradition, and it's important because it's at the basis of how one would synchronize the spirit, in particular the spirit's expression within the temporal order, within time, and how this is directed through multiple incarnations, which are the past and the future. And again, because there are multiple realities, this could be better versions of the future or better versions of the past, or worse versions of the past and future. Now, at many respects, we can also say that the soul pattern is based upon this patterned trajectory, and this patterned trajectory is revealed through dreams and synchronicity, and this is important. So to control the dream is at the basis of controlling physical reality, and it is at the basis of the paradigm. Now the paradigm is this patterned reality, and it's the motion of the soul pattern and its mastery over reality. And I will just want to quote from my book The Soul Pattern. I haven't published it yet, but I'm still in the process of writing, but I make the following so I just want to quote from my book The Soul Pattern, and I make the following observations. The paradigm relates to paradigma, which is the soul pattern from paradeikunai, shown beside all that which is figural. Metaphysical, the paradigm connotes the soul and its existence on many dimensions, exhibited primarily through levels of thought. Okay, so logos is the thought or the word, which is the vibration, which manifests itself as the photon, which is light or the particle, again, which is at the basis of physical or material reality. So its existence on many dimensions exhibited primarily through levels of thought. In a more lateral and truthful sense, the signs, systems or designs of God, a blueprint or force inherent in the anatomy of reality. The soul pattern's manifestation reveals the divine paradigm, a type of patterned logic underlying the spirit of God and its creation. So therefore, we can say, therefore, that synchronicity is very important in terms of the soul pattern, because the pattern of God is revealed through synchronicity, which is equated with the imaginal realm, which is essentially the spiritual realm of universal forms, which are materialized in the physical world as a particle. So this is the juxtaposition between the implicit order and its externalization of the explicit order. So, we can say, therefore, when we go back to the idea of the soul pattern, it is based upon this initiatory teaching. And the initiatory teachings all relate to how one would control the soul pattern, which is, when we break it down, is tied into the belief of the unity of the one, or in other words, plurality from the one, the manifestation of the divine spark, but this manifestation of the divine spark, or the anthropos, is coming from this unity or one, which is the aeon. Now the aeon is the source of the supreme mind, which can be understood to be the logos. Literally, this is the word or the spirit, and the word or the spirit is diffused into the world soul, which is the manifestation of the spirit into archetypical forms. So therefore, the manifestation into vegetables, into different animals, these are all archetypical forms. The archetypical form is the universal pattern. This is the soul pattern of the universal form, which is then particularized as an actual form. So the archetypical form is this universal form. And Jung, when he came up with the idea of the archetype, he was basically translating the Greek word for the universal form. So this is not a new idea. Jung was very much aware of Plato's teaching on universal forms, which is an archetypical form. Now the archetypical form is this emanation or the movement of the spirit, and it appears, according to the Gnostics, as organic light. The organic light is oneself, which is the soul, which is light, and this is a photon, and this light creates a pattern or a ripple, which is likened to a vibrating string, which is a ripple in time, which is the manifestation of the aeon. The word aeon means an age, because the aeon gives birth to time. So the aeon is a concentric circle, which is in Greek symbolism is equated with the emanation of the divine mind. But the concentric circle, when we look at this scientifically, is a hologram. It is an interference pattern, and the interference pattern is light, which gives form to the physical reality. It gives form to the three-dimensional world. Now this is coming from a single source, which is divine in origin. Now again, when we go into the symbolism of light, it's very interesting, because they understood that at one level, if we look at God, and by God I mean the absolute or the supreme, right? If movement is equated with decay and entropy, which is the physical order, then God is equated with non-movement and stillness. And so therefore, light at one level was said not to move because it came from this divine source, which is stillness, which is everything, but everything is manifested in the physical world as this temporal order. Now, the organic light can be understood as this pattern or ripple, which is likened to a vibrating string, and it's divine in origin, and it goes back to the symbolism of Pythagoras's monochord. As we said, Pythagoras's monochord is this vibrating string which represents the multiple worlds, which are both spiritual and physical. So these are multiple dimensions, and they are symbolized as musical chords, and the musical chords are a type of vibration, or an aeon, which are different ages, which are symbolized as the manifestation of the ultimate mind. Now, the aeon supports the visible and the invisible world, so music is at the basis of reality, which gives birth to the light and to the physical world. Now, in this respect, the universe, which is the logos, which is the one word, universe as in a verse, gives birth to the multiverse, which is the different levels of existence, which can be understood to be different vibrations or notes on the Pythagorean monochord. And they are really synonymous with the formation of the anthropos, and is at the basis of the holographic universe. It's also at the basis of a holographic culture. Now, a holographic culture are a race of beings, or beings who have deconstructed the physical parameters of reality. They have deconstructed the waveform. They know the difference between the waveform, which can be understood as the aeon or time or the spirit, and the materialization of the spirit as the photon or particle, which is the photon, which is the difference between the imaginal realm or the implicit order of universal forms, and the realization or the particularization of form, which is Plato's Platonic forms. So we can say therefore that the soul pattern is at one level the projection of the spirit and its reflection into matter. It can be understood to be a type of paradigm or a pattern, and therefore synchronicity is important. Deconstruction of the imaginal realm, which is the dream realm, is at the basis of controlling physical reality, which is at the basis of controlling physical incarnation. The control over the soul pattern, which was at the basis of gnosis, which is this knowledge of pneuma, which is the spirit. So it's the control over the hologram, and the holographic culture or holographic beings understand this, and therefore they have deconstructed. Not only have they deconstructed time and space, and therefore they can time travel, and therefore they can also make their flying saucers very small or very large, because they control time and space. If you can control time, you can control physical space, the parameters of space. But they've also deconstructed the spiritual realm, and this is why these beings also intersect with the spiritual realm, because they understand death. Once you can deconstruct the hologram and time and space, then that is at the basis of deconstructing scientifically the spirit and the imaginal realm, which is at the basis of reality. So a holographic culture, therefore, they are interdimensional. They exist outside of time, and they can control time. And they have also deconstructed the soul pattern. Therefore, within the Apocrypha, these beings are said to be able to plant souls into living bodies. In today's parlance, this would be a type of walking. This idea that a body can be controlled remotely by a remote intelligence. Again, it's going back into the idea of the control of the soul pattern. Okay, that's a basic summary of the soul pattern. I haven't gone into too much etymology, because I think the concepts themselves are difficult enough to grasp without actually complicating it with multiple etymologies. But that's essentially the soul pattern. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Please pass my videos around, and if you have enjoyed my video, please subscribe, please support my work and buy my books, Holographic Culture, The Murder of Reality. This is Pierre Sabak. Let's try and make this a better world. Thank you very much.